Well, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis kicking off what looks an awful lot like the soft launch of a presidential run today, starting off with a pro-police tour in New York City with plans to meet other law enforcement officers in several deep blue cities overrun with crime, Philadelphia, Chicago. So will a law and order message become the cornerstone of his 2024 agenda if DeSantis runs? Joining me now to talk about it is Monica Crowley, former Treasury Secretary for Public Affairs and host of the Monica Crowley podcast. I thought you were the Treasury Secretary, and I missed that somehow, Monica. And Roma, Daravi.
You gave me a promotion, David.
Yeah, I did. Former White House Deputy Strategic Communications Director and founder and CEO of Daravi Strategies. Good to see you both, ladies. Thank you for being here. So, Monica, what DeSantis is doing, he's actually linking his law and order campaign with a broader anti-woke agenda. Let me just play a soundbite from what he said in Staten Island, New York today. Roll tape.
What those areas are doing is they are putting woke ideology ahead of public safety. They are pursuing politics at the expense of the well-being of those who wear the uniform. And you could see it.
So, Monica, he's kind of hitting two birds with one stone there, the woke policies in general and law and order specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question that Governor DeSantis is going to seek the Republican nomination this time. He's got a book coming out at the end of this month about his long record of success in the state of Florida, economically, on these issues of these cultural issues of CRT and wokeness. I mean, he's got a tremendous track record. And so I think it's pretty clear that he is running. What's interesting about this is he's going right into the belly of the beast. He's going into these deep blue urban areas, and he's taking the message of crime and of law and order directly to these Democratic constituencies. I think it's very smart. Having worked with President Nixon during the last years of his life, he and I often talked about his 1968, 1972 presidential races where he ran on law and order. And it certainly helped Nixon win big victories both of those years. Now, the country, David, is very different than it was back then. But when we're talking about basic quality of life issues, like the ability to walk down the street in your hometown unmolested and not in fear, that is a very powerful political message.
And Roma, it's awful powerful because there are an awful lot of New Yorkers who went down to Florida because of these factors. And even though they've left, they send back notices to their friends and family that are still here saying, you got to come down. And, the Wall Street Journal ran a kind of comparison between New York and Florida, and it's extraordinary. I mean, the budgets alone, they're the same number of people. Actually, Florida has a little more, but they have half the budget that New York does, $114 billion versus $227 billion. But the reason why they are able to do this, ironically, is because they have zero tax rate. While in New York, and this is a comparison to New York City and Miami, zero Florida rate, almost 15% in New York. But again, they have half the budget, so they do much more with much less. And what they have as a result is a GDP growth in Florida of 17%. New York has 8%. State unemployment rate, New York has 4.3% unemployment. Florida has 2.5%. So it's a great message to people that are under the gun in these high-tax states.
Exactly, and numbers don't lie. So if you actually look at the data that you just shared with the viewers, you'll see that the governing powers of a Republican state like Florida are much better for the American people that live in those areas. Financially, it's better for them. Economically, for their families, it's better for them and their safety for their families. So it's really strange when you look to the comparison of a place like New York City and my home state of California, where people are leaving in droves in order to get away from the liberal policies, moving to places like Florida that is run very well by Governor Ron DeSantis. So, I'm not going to make any predictions. I think Monica is probably right that he's going to announce and run. But there's really no bad case scenario when it comes to the amount of Republican leadership that are going to put their foot in the game this time around, because there's no rule book. Right? We've never been in this situation before. And so it's going to be very interesting to see who jumps into this race. There's going to be a lot of people that do it just to get on Trump's good side and try to get a cabinet position. But I'm excited to see how it goes.
You know, one of the reasons we can't let the local officials off the hook, Monica, they are so responsible for the bad situation in many cities like New York. This, not only the mayors, but the city councils, et cetera. DeSantis is going to Chicago, where they're just about to have a mayoral run, and Lori Lightfoot is trying to get reelected. She may not get it, by the way. The pressure, even if you don't like DeSantis, if you're against Lori Lightfoot, you appreciate him going there because it emphasizes what a bad job she's done.
Well, that's exactly right. And look, people in these deep blue cities are living these left-wing, actually revolutionary policies every single day. They'd want to know what their government has done for them lately. They want to know what their tax dollars are getting them. And in places like New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, the list goes on, these Democratic mayors have delivered nothing but misery and increasing poverty. They have not delivered prosperity or safety for their people. That is job one for a mayor who is closest to their actual constituencies. So for someone like Governor DeSantis to go into these areas with a message of, look, your current leadership is really letting you down. You can't even live your life in the most basic of ways because you're not safe and you're poorer than you were before they entered office.
Right.
That is a tremendously powerful message that's going to resonate, I think, with a lot of voters, not just Republicans and disaffected independents, but a lot of disaffected Democrats,
Roma,
too.
very quickly, I got to get this in. I want to switch gears to Bernie Sanders, an openly socialist member of the United States Senate, caught red-handed as a closet capitalist, a greedy closet capitalist. Roll tape. I'll get your quick reaction.
Tickets for your tour apparently are selling for $95 on Ticketmaster, which is accused of anti-competitive behavior. Aren't you benefiting yourself from the system that you're trying to dismantle?
First of all, those decisions are made totally by the publisher and the bookseller. I don't make a nickel out of these things at all.
But you're okay doing business with Ticketmaster?
No, not particularly, but that's, again, I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, not particularly, but I'm going to do it anyway. Quickly, Roma.
Yeah, Bernie is playing dumb, and we all know that he's a lot of things, but that's not one of them. So for him to say he has no skin in the game and the decision made, it's just a lie. The American people have been hearing lies from the left for a long time, and this is another one where it's rules for thee and not for me. But he's definitely making a nickel and many, many more off of that book tour and ticket sales on Ticketmaster.
Rich socialists are hypocrites by definition. They are hypocrites. You're not supposed to be rich if you're social. Roma and Monica, great to see you both. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you coming in.